Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to newest edition of In the Mix Mondays. I'm your co-host and financial advisor, Mr. Al Moore. I'm here with my partner in crime, Mr. Lee Miller. Lee, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. This is Attorney Lee Miller here bringing the legal spiel for In the Mix Monday.
Legal spiel, I can dig that. Hopefully you guys didn't miss us too much the last 2 weeks. I know how this is the best part of your week. And we just kind of believe in the principle of, letting people miss you. So hopefully the 2 weeks wasn't too bad. Hopefully you've gone over to our Instagram at In the Mix Monday and also to our YouTube where you can check out clips of last week's episode, as well as the full episodes there, and also just extra tidbits and content that we kind of have going around. So for everybody that checked us out last week, new, old, subscribers, visitors, welcome. We thank you. Hopefully it's something that's a wise investment at the time. We believe that it is, and looking forward to another good segment here today. So as we always do here at In the Mix, we go through what's in our mix, and of course me, on brand with my mason jar. And I also, I didn't tell you about this, Lee. I'm paying respect to an old legend. I want you to see that. So if y'all not from Little Rock, Arkansas, that might not mean anything to you. But let me tell you something about this glass. It's from a place that is no longer with us.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
R.I.P. to a legend, man. R.I.P. to Cajuns. If you're from the Little Rock area, if you've ever been down here, Cajuns was a legendary spot. Bar, restaurant, great food, great atmosphere, great ambiance right down on the river. They had a drink called Play-Doh, which I actually never really liked. But at one point I did purchase one because the Play-Doh was kind of too sweet for me. But I did purchase one at some point just so I can have a mug when they were about to get up out of here. But of course, and I just like mason jars. It's just my brand. And I don't care if Lee called me country. I'm Southern, and I'm fine with that. Does not make or break me.
Okay, be yourself. It's cool,
Thank you. But in any event, man, I'm just still keeping it simple with rum and a couple of ice cubes, or on the rocks as they call it. Real simple, real clean. Get you fixed right up right before you go lay down in the bed. What's in your mix this week?
This week we decided to go with Bamboo. This is called the Scourge of the Seven Seas. This is, I don't know, hailed by Rick Ross and Lil Wayne. Those know I'm a Wayne fan. Kind of fan as well. So I wanted to try it out. Also, my homegirl from St. Lucia, she's real big on rum. And my homegirl from St. Croix, Virgin Islands, they're big on rum. So I wanted to get it and try it out. It's actually delicious.
Okay, so it's a rum. I thought it might have been a cognac. It's a rum, actually.
Yeah, it's a rum. We switched it up. We had a rum. And then I took a shot straight up, but then I mixed it with the new Sprite and ginger ale. Excuse the plastic cup. It's been a rough week. But the new Sprite ale is all right, too. So that's what we're doing. Bamboo.
Absolutely. Well, as always, cheers to you, my brother, before we get into this.
Yes, sir. Cheers.
So I wanted to just kind of give a rundown, just kind of where we are, what kind of went down in the market since we've kind of been gone. In particular, the last week, a lot of kind of skepticism too. There's always kind of a back and forth in regards to how current events kind of affect the market. And me being the kind of guy that I am, I can kind of gauge the seriousness or the magnitude of some events by kind of the effect that it has on the market. Is what's going on, how is this affecting the market, and just kind of plain Jane with no sentiment about it. The market had a great week last week. Some people were kind of paying attention. It kind of caught the back seat with everything kind of going on. But the S&P did really well. Just kind of the market as a whole.
What's the S&P, Al? Hey, hold up. I'm still new to this. What's the S&P? What that mean?
The S&P is a market index. It stands for Standard & Poor's. They Standard & Poor's is actually a ratings company, but the S&P is an index, and an index is kind of an amalgamation of information as well as companies over various industries. And it's kind of a collection of data with value attached to it. Lots of numbers, but what you want to know about the S&P is if it's up or down, that's kind of one of the main indexes they use to kind of look at the market as a whole.
And I'm making money, and if it's down, that means I'm losing money.
Generally, just kind of depend. Generally speaking, but that also kind of depends on what you're invested to as well. So, but typically, not in all cases, because some people might have an alternative investments or, you know, things that work inverse to the market. It's all kind of this what you can have. But typically, if the S&P, the Dow are doing good, then typically, you know, most people are up instead of down.
Okay.
And so, yeah, just some other kind of highlights from that. Let me see where I'm at here. Yeah, market doing well. Housing. We talked about housing last time, how that's kind of a big indicator of market health and strength. Over the month of May, activity is increasing, which is good. People are still buying homes. New home sales are actually up in April after kind of being on a skid. They're going up. Mortgage purchase applications are growing steady, which is very good. And long-term demographics is leading to de-urbanization trends and rising millennial purchases. So millennials are buying more houses, and there's also de-urbanization trends. And so we kind of understand what de-urbanization means in financial speak. So so yeah, that was just a couple of things. I also want to just kind of start highlighting some big gainers, some big winners, and big kind of losers. So three of the biggest companies that kind of had that kind of ended the week really well. United Airlines, that symbol UAL, was up 8.5%.
Okay, hold up. Write that down. So I need to buy stock. Is that what you're telling me? In United Airlines?
I am not giving you any financial advice specifically to you. I'm just reporting to you that United Airlines, but typically when something is rising, you kind of want to get something when it's cheaper. But there's still some volatility in the market, and it does say that there isn't more room for growth. But some people that were just kind of wondering about the travel industry, because that's one of the areas most highly affected. There are some signs of strength.
You're right. I'm trying to go to Jamaica. I can't go. So the travel industry stocks is going up. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, United Airlines in particular. Air Canada is doing well, but there's also some mumblings of what they call overvaluation. And it just kind of means sometimes the market can do so good that can give you
that's finessing, right? Over-evaluate. That sounds like some finessing.
No, that just means that sometimes the market may tend to show a company as more valuable than what it really is. And so some reports might come out or earnings statements might come out, and you know, you might see a stock that was trending upward and might kind of trend back down. But you want to look for stocks most of the time that are undervalued, because the same way it works for overvaluation, it works in the opposite too. You want to look for companies that are undervalued, because that means that they might be at a lower cost than what they're really worth. And upon more reports or data or earnings or something like that being released, you know, if you might get into something when it's undervalued and then the value gets corrected, you know, you stand to make a gain. So, but Caleres, CAL, that was another company. They were up 7.4%. And also Tiffany Company, up 6.5%. Those were some of the biggest gainers from last week. And some of the three companies that kind of took a slide, we had stock symbol WORK, spells out work. So Slack Technology, they were actually down 14.2%. MDB, MongoDB LLC, a company I'm not really too sure what they do, but they were down 10%. And my big surprise of the week is GME, that was down 7.4%. Take a wild guess at what GME is.
General Methodology Electronics.
That is absolutely incorrect, but that was a good try. GME, no, General Electric is just GE. GME is GameStop.
Oh, why would GameStop be up?
You would think in the last quarter that the GameStop nation would have become one and united. I thought that there would have been more video game purchases than ever, but not so much. And I think you might be able to.
No, because GameStop is the actual store, right?
Right.
No. You would think people just buying games online or playing online.
Right. So I think the fact that you can like digitally purchase now and just download straight to your system, I think they kind of started to see that. I mean, like, to where they might be the next Blockbuster. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people? Right. I guess just in the particular last quarter, I guess it's just kind of not a thing where people were staying in the house. Like, they're still playing video games, but now if my PlayStation 5 has 89 tetrabytes or whatever the kids are doing with memory cards these days,
right?
You know, you can just download it, and I guess they kind of felt the effects of that. But that doesn't mean that they can't, kind of rebound from that or kind of shift things to offer more than just video games. And they also offer like hardware and stuff too. So they might try to get more into that space of like systems and trading, you know. So I mean, there's still some pliability there, but last week they had a pretty bad week. So yeah, they're just kind of that on that, and I'm just gonna kind of wrap up with the what we call 5,500 and 5,000. Just kind of something we just wanted to talk about in terms of a lot of questions that I get from people is I don't really know much about investing. I have this amount. What should I do? And it's normally either $50. Somebody might have $500 or $5,000. So I just kind of wanted to put some color around that in terms of just options or things to think about if you find yourself in one of those particular situations. Now, the caveat to that is before you kind of look to investing, I always kind of tell people this. If you have some excess cash around that you're looking to do something with, I would surmise, generally, I would try to eliminate debt with it. Because it's just kind of counterproductive, if you got 3 or 4 credit cards with $4,000 on it and you get your stimulus check or whatever for $1,200 or whatever excess funds you have around, and you're like, oh man, what can I invest in? I would invest in eliminating anything that's occurring interest. So any debts that you might have that might be occurring interest. I mean, you never want to particularly invest if you have a substantial amount of debt. Now, I mean, just a few things here and there, you might have an old AT&T bill. I mean, definitely get those things out of the way.
Old AT&T bill.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked when I was working like in the bank side. I would learn how many people had either old AT&T or old Comcast bills.
Because they rob you
for some crazy amount. Like, I was like working in the bank like years ago, and like people would come in and literally have like a Comcast bill for like $118 from like 5 years ago, and I'm like, what is this? They're like, oh, I forgot to take whatever back, and it's just kind of been there, or they forget about it, or like something with like AT&T, like a cell phone. So cable company and cell phone tend to appear a lot on people's credit. So anything you kind of got like that, just kind of get that knocked off.
Okay.
And if we're not necessarily paying down debt, like you might not necessarily have any debts, you know what I'm saying, outside of like mortgage, car note, things like that, those aren't things you have to immediately pay off. But if that kind of isn't a thing, I would kind of advise people to have an emergency fund. Most people just kind of say like you want to start with at least $1,000 saved before you kind of like get in the weeds of like kind of investing or anything like that. I want to say that the general consensus, most people kind of say between 3 and 6 months of living expenses is really what you should be shooting towards in savings. But just depending on the situation, that can be kind of excessive for somebody that's like, I don't have any debt and I got $1,000 saved, but I don't want to miss opportunity now trying to save up 6 months of living expenses. So, but I would say at least have $1,000 in savings, because just depending on what kind of investing you do, it can be volatile, it can be tricky.
Right.
You're more than likely going to have moments of correction when it pulls down, and you're going to have times, of growth and increase. But just to kind of deal with things that life might throw at you, having $1,000 is kind of a good thing. But so for the $50 category, I would say get started with something with one of the micro shares apps. Like what are micro shares? That's the two particularly that I have used and that I saw success with and that I liked were Acorns and Stash. They kind of make it real simple for you. They kind of ask you what your investment preferences are in terms of, are you conservative or do you like a lot of risk? And you can put small amounts there, $5, $10, and they start to purchase micro shares and stocks for you. And so it takes away the need to have to kind of monitor that thing itself. It's kind of like some form of management to it. But the most important thing about micro share investing apps is the right ones create saving habits. And so that's really what's most important, is being able to consistently put money back to invest. And so, like, the thing I liked about Acorns is that it can tie to your debit card, and when you make a purchase, you can do something called roundups. So if you spend $1.81, it'll round up to $2 and put the 19 cents and change towards your account. And once you get so much money in roundups, it'll make purchase of securities for you. So I like that idea, especially for the younger people, just kind of getting out with their early college or something like that. More importantly, because it just creates like the best kind of saving is done like through automation, like when people don't know that they're doing it. When people have to save on their own, they tend not to do it, which is why years back, the government kind of came and said, we're going to create something called 401ks and take it out of people's check. Because what they learned after the Great Depression is like, if we don't create something to make people save money and put money back, they won't do it. So whenever we can automate that process and get people into the habit of putting some money back without having to think about it, that's good. So yeah, if you got $50 sitting up, look up some micro share investing apps and, kind of get started with that. And they have information and white papers on there, so you kind of learn a little bit about investing. It's a good beginner's platform. For the 500 category, now you might be able to get into things a little bit more in depth. I would look at getting into some, maybe you're looking at mutual funds or ETFs, or maybe even REITs, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trusts. These are things you can do self-directed. A lot of companies that offer mutual funds have their own site where you can get into. But the thing with mutual funds and ETFs and funds in general, they normally have a minimum purchase to buy in. Now, a lot of them can be 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, but there's a core group where the minimum investment is $500. And so, and most times buying into mutual funds, you kind of get diversity and, you can kind of spread out your risk. So, and it kind of gives you, more of a return, of course, when you're at $50 buying micro shares. And so, yeah, in those kind of accounts, you can open, Schwab, TD Ameritrade, things of that nature. If you had like Merrill Edge, Fidelity, just things of that nature where you can kind of go, and it's called self-directed. You just kind of do it yourself and get into those things without having to drop a substantial amount of money. And lastly, just the $5,000 category.
All right. That's what we need to talk about. Right. So
that's what we need.
I'm engaged. What I need to do with
Okay.
the 5, I'm trying to
Well,
turn it
now that
into.
I got you locked in, let me get to it. That's what I was waiting on. I was waiting to see when you was going to engage. But now that I got you, you just hold tight. We're getting right to you.
All right,
So
I'm ready.
So for 5,000, you know, I would. This is why where you might actually get into actually looking to work with an advisor. And it's kind of tell people that, like, you know, how do I know when I need to work with an advisor? Like whenever it's too much for you to manage for yourself. Because at that point you can still purchase things like mutual funds and whatnot. But the thing is, now you want to get into like tailored solutions, customized solutions for you. So what you yeah, you know what your goal might be, and at the point where somebody has saved $5,000 or they've got 5,000 in an old 401k that they rolled over, you know, it's to a point now of specificity. So that's something that kind of allots, you know, time for just somebody to kind of look at it and say, okay, what's going on? You might need your own custom tailored solution. And one reason for this is you can have the benefit of kind of having what's called like guided investment, somebody that's kind of going along with you. And sometimes when you get with an institution or a firm, they can get things called like institutional shares, so they may be able to buy blocks and lots of things for, you know, prices when they manage your funds that as a regular consumer you might not be able to get. So you might have to pay. Well, you can get it, but you might pay more for it. So those are just kind of the perks, because when you get to investing,
Say, I got $5,000. Give me an
okay.
example of how you gonna turn this into. I ain't gonna say 100. That might be too much pressure. How can you turn this into 20?
Well,
I'm aggressive. I'll answer this question before. I'm aggressive because they be like, "Are you aggressive, moderate?" I'm aggressive. I'm trying to turn 5 into 20.
and the question I would ask, are you comfortable with losing all 5?
No, I just need to lose 1,000.
Okay, so you're not as aggressive as you think you are.
No, I'm aggressive. I ain't.
Because
I
when you're aggressive, you got to leave it all on the
be
line.
A hero, not a zero. You know what
You
I'm
come
saying?
out, you go to 95% equities, and you let the chips fall where they may. But and generally speaking, people who are more aggressive tend to want to be in more equities. That means like individual stocks and companies,
Okay.
things that have a potential for more upside. So that's something for aggressive. Because like I said, it all depends on your timeline. Like I said, without looking at somebody's individual circumstances, I can never say. But typically, people in that hypothetical situation we just described who are super aggressive, they will probably want to talk to an advisor about having a lot of equity exposure, so that they can enjoy like what the market did last week, and enjoy, you know, some of those gains that they might be participating in. That if you're in, you know, funds or bonds, may not have received such a big boom. So like I said, it always comes back to individual need and individual timeline. But particularly people who are more aggressive look for either high equity exposure or, you know, some sort of alternative fund. So so that's kind of that on that, man. We, you know, just kind of covered, you know, the last week at a glance with the market, the big 3 winners and the big 3 losers. You know, we kind of got into the 50, 500, and 5,000. You know, just kind of talked about the GameStop. I'm not going to say anomaly, but very interesting. And, you know, kind of got into housing, an update on that and how that's doing good. So, like I said, the market generally last week did very well. That doesn't mean that the volatility is over. A lot of times when you're in the midst of a recovery, you'll have a quick spike and everybody's like, oh man, we're out of it. And then systematically just take a dip just because it's a process and going upwards. But it's just signs to be optimistic. You know, things didn't kill the economy like we might have thought. And a lot of people were kind of, well, I don't know, you know, with so much going on, I don't know if I should investigate anything in. But, you know, the market is still performing. So, you know, if you fit in one of those categories, you know, just definitely kind of look into it, look at some of those investing apps, or if you know, talk to one of the local advisors in your area just to kind of see what your options are. But, you know, be careful, be smart. But, you know, if there's opportunity out there for you, you know, definitely look into it. So, That's all I got for finances this week. Let's get into a little bit of law talk.
For sure. I got a couple questions for you at the end I want you to answer. So, pop quiz, it just came email. Listener said, how is the stock market in good condition when unemployment is still so high? That's question one. And then question two is, what are equities? So you can answer those at the end, or we'll do what we need to do, but just so you know, those questions came in.
Okay.
All right. So let's get into the law. All right. Well, first and foremost, one of my segments I want to do for the law is for the culture. Laws that I want to talk about specifically for the culture, as the young people say. I must admit, y'all, I'm a couple episodes behind on my Insecure, so don't judge me. Brother Al tried to tell me to catch up, but it's been a busy week. And so the last episode I watched was when they were about to get into it at the park after her little festivities and all that good stuff. And so for the culture, I'm dealing with the law, I want you to pick your battles, okay?
I'm Team Lawrence, by the way. I just want that to be known. I know Lawrence. people try to get my guy Lawrence, you know, they try to talk down on him. But just know, come HE double or high water, I'm Team Lawrence. I'm riding with my guy. You know, and that's just how we're gonna do it.
Okay.
But, yeah,
cool.
That's my battle that I'm picking. I'm picking the battle to be Team Lawrence, to be Lawrence Hobbs. So
I'm kind of getting into Insecure. I'm a late bloomer, I guess, when it comes to the show. But I'm getting with it. So cool. Picking your battles. Let's talk about it. So there was at the very end, they were about to get into it. Issa and her friend, because their relationship was on the rocks, and so it almost got to fisticuffs towards the end. Learn how to pick your battles, people. Do not get assault battery charged with anyone over something that you guys can work out, because once you get assault and battery charge brought against the state, that could get you an order of protection placed on you. You could get fired from your job. You could also spend time in jail. Also, not really related, but kind of sort of, the All Lives Matter thing that's going on right now. Be very aware of social media bullying. Somebody yells out "All Lives Matter" and you respond back, "I'm gonna beat you up when I see you." That could be considered bullying and or terroristic threatening. So you will find yourself having to call me, a criminal defense attorney, to deal with charges that you will be faced with. So learn how to pick your battles. If something can be handled via phone call or amicably, peacefully, let's try to do those things, right? So that's my little segment on for the culture, picking your battles. Next thing, I want to talk about the laws that are being implemented or used in the George Floyd case. The issue with prosecuting police officers is that it's very hard, because although what they may be doing may seem wrong to the human eye, under the law, it may be acceptable behavior. For an example, a club bouncer's job is to beat people up who don't follow the rules of the club. You in the middle of the club, knucking if you bucking, they say calm down, you knuck and buck some more. Now you find yourself thrown to the ground or thrown out of the club. That's his job as a club bouncer. Police officer's job to the common person is to serve and protect. That's not really their job. They actually have no duty to serve and protect you, but that's something that we believe their job is to do. And so upon restraining a person, they may use the chokehold, the knee on the neck. They may be deemed reasonable behavior under the circumstances when apprehending suspects. And so when you look at the law and where it falls, it may be hard for a prosecutor to actually get charges to stick to that officer that's acting unreasonable to us, general citizens. The particular charges, they've changed a little bit over the weeks. But the most recent ones I seen was for the officer who actually had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. The prosecutor is actually the attorney general stepped in, so it's not even just a local prosecutor. It's actually an appointed attorney general that's trying to bring his charges. It was second-degree murder. And so under the Minnesota statute, second-degree murder by definition, and I'm going to read this, is whoever causes the death of a human being. So we got that check. So let me back up a little bit. Whenever you're prosecuting a case or I'm defending a case that the prosecution has to prove every element 100%, not 99, not 99.5, not 98, not 70, 100%. And
So is that beyond reasonable doubt?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so,
that's not preponderance of the evidence.
Preponderance is a lower standard. The highest standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. Preponderance of the evidence is lower standard. It's easier to meet preponderance of the evidence. You be like, nah, it's okay. And you can get a conviction.
Okay.
But beyond doubt means 100%. Or at least that's how I explain it to jurors. Next thing, who causes, so it's the Minnesota statute. I'm reading to Minnesota. And that's another thing too. In your particular state, there's a statute for second-degree murder in your state. So it may be very different than the one that we have here in Arkansas. But in Minnesota, it says, whoever causes the death of a human being. So Mr. Floyd did indeed die, but we don't know the actual cause of his death. They had 2 autopsies done, and one of them said it was a homicide. So this would actually be a check, 100%. A death was caused. Got it. Now it says there's a comma, and so as an attorney, commas and periods are very, very important. So the next thing, without intent to affect the death of any person. Intent goes to what you were thinking about at the time. What did you intend to do? We don't know what was in his mind. So right there, we can pause and understand that the prosecution is going to have a hard time proving what was in this officer's head and what he intended to do.
Pause. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can you ever prove intent if it's based on what was? Can you ever prove what somebody was thinking or trying to do?
I don't know if you could prove it, but you can definitely use circumstantial evidence. You send a text message. I'm finna go over there and shoot him up. Or you told him on the phone, it's on site. Next time I see you, it's going down. Or
familiar.
If Suzanne wears that blonde wig with the red streak in it, we're gonna fire her. Not because of her work ethic, but because I don't like her hair. It doesn't fit our office decorum. So you said what you was going to do. So so we do that to prove the intent. And then it says while committing or attempting to commit a felony offense other than criminal sexual assault. So we don't, he wasn't attempting to do anything like that. But just right there is going to be an issue proving that element. And so then you got to get a jury to convict it. So that's the other thing. How many juries actually convict police officers? 7 out of 10 times, police win. They walk scot-free. And so those
really?
You got to look at the data and how hard it is to actually prosecute a police officer. So I want everybody to be aware of that. And then there's also 3rd-degree murder and 2nd-degree manslaughter and those type of things. But I want to be, in the essence of time, move on. But next we got to talk about bail and bond. So these officers that were arrested are being held on bond for $1 million. Now, you may feel that what they did was so egregious that they need to be held and they need extremely high bond, but also know it's at the discretion of the courts. So what if these were normal, regular people being held on such high bonds? Now we think the court is doing a disservice. But because the court has so much discretion, they can do that. So you got to be careful on how you make emotional decisions with dealing with the law and how you feel. We have to look at what the law actually says and how the law is actually being executed. So don't be surprised if none of these people go to jail and there's no charges brought. We need to focus on the law. And so maybe the law needs to be changed. Maybe there needs to be an independent study. I would propose that there should be a log kept on officers and incidents, just like teachers or anybody who works with kids. You can't beat up kids, even if the kid deserved it, right? You just not allowed. So how are you allowed to just beat up people when you're a police officer? And after so many people, and there's actually a registry for students, or I mean, not for students, but for people who work with children and that type of thing. Like there's a registry. And so you can never get another job in that field after so many complaints and so many incidents. But how is it that police officers get several complaints and incidents and nothing is ever done? So we really need to change how we look at that and, things that we can do. And so that's my spiel dealing with the George Floyd thing. And I do want to say that since I already mentioned the All Lives Matter thing, do not terroristic threat these people, guys. Pick your battles. Black lives do matter. And if someone says that to you, just say, shut up and move on. Because those people are ignorant and they're not worth your time. Because during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, nobody stops, race for the cure, walk for the cure, and say, all cancers matter with a prostate cancer shirt. That doesn't happen. So why does someone feel the need to come when you say Black Lives Matter to say all lives matter? These people are repulsive, and that's as far as I'm gonna go with that. But so just be very, yeah. Al tells me to tone it down, don't be too hard on them. But because I don't like to see other people get worked up because they're not worth it. And so that's where we at. Next thing I want to talk about the law, how to interact with police when dealing with being pulled over by police officers. And it varies from state to state. So on our next show, I'm gonna break down a couple states. So email me and let me know your particular state. But the first thing I'm gonna tell you is your objective is to get home safe. If you don't feel like that you're gonna be able to get home safe, you need to eliminate the threat and accept the consequences that come with that. What do you mean, Mr. Miller? I mean that some people are very intelligent, and so although the law may be on your side and you may be right, the time to do that is not on the side of the road with a police officer, because 99% of the time you're still gonna lose on the side of the road. You need to get home safely where you can actually litigate and deal with it in the courtroom. On the side of the road, the police officer wins 99% of the time. That being said, never give a police officer the authority or the permission to search your car. Many times when I deal with people and police stops, the police officer says, can I check your car? Is it okay? Say no. Even if they gonna say, well, I'm gonna get the dogs and come out here, let them do it. Do not get a permission. Do not give the police permission to search your car or your home for that matter at any time without a warrant. Because guess what? If you got something in the car to hide, they're gonna find it anyway. So don't just give it up to them. Do not do that. Hang on, I got an email came in. Let me see what it says. Okay. Oh. What do you do? I don't know. That's a long question. So just email me because this is an inbox. So I just need you to email me at attorneylmiller@gmail.com, and I have to have a follow-up because that's too long of a question to address. So just send that to me. And I'll give the people your email.
The In the Mix Mondays at gmail.com.
Yeah, oh, that's fine. No, say that again.
Yeah. Any questions you have?
It's a good email.
Any questions you guys have for us, feel free to send them over to inthemixmondays@gmail.com. And if you watch one of the playbacks, we'll have it somewhere at the bottom of the screen. I think I figured out how to put in lower third graphics. Again, I recall back to my high school TV production days. So yeah, I'll be sure to put that in there. So that they can, whatever questions, anything like that, they can send it to inthemixmondays@gmail.com.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. But yeah, thanks for the inbox. But yeah, please send it to the email and I'll get back to you. Oh, the last thing.
No. Okay, go ahead.
No. What's up? What's the question?
No, I didn't know if you had something else. I was going to ask you a different question about something from earlier, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's up?
No, I was going to ask you. You told me you had two questions earlier for me. I remember one of them. It was, I think it was it? How can the market be good if unemployment is high?
Right.
And what was the other one?
What are equities?
Okay, yeah, that's what I can remember. But no, go ahead and finish your spiel, then I'll get to it.
Okay, cool. So the next thing I want to talk about is how we can use the law to deal with the George Floyd incident and other incidents similar to his. The first thing we have to do is we have to make a strategic effort to focus on voter registration and voter education. The next component of that is focus on local elections and focus on these different amendments and things like that get passed, and make sure that we educate the people. The next thing you have to do that the law is actually reach out to your elected officials, whoever they may be, your mayor, state representative, alderman, justice of the peace, dog catcher, anybody that's elected, and tell them that they need to create a bill or help facilitate a bill to get passed that can deal with police prosecution and or false 911 accusation calls on people who are bird watching in the middle of the park or anything like that. Their job as a legislator is to make bills. That's their job, to legislate the laws. So you need to tell them that's what they need to do. The third thing is that we, as a group of people, we have to keep a written record of incidents that occur and make sure that those get in the right hands, such as the mayor, a state representative. And then, I mean, I hate to say this, but the jury or the court of the public is very, very important. So like when other people know what's going on, and a lot of people know what's going on, it tends to get more attention and cause people to act expeditiously. And so you can never forget about that. Okay. So those are pretty much my, that's my spiel on the law this week. You got any particular questions for me, Al? You normally have a good question for me.
I think you kind of answered. I was going to ask you to kind of some particulars around interacting in traffic stops with police who may not, for people who may not know what their rights may be in those particular incidences. But I think you put some color around that, which was good. The only thing I can really think or maybe add to, nothing really comes to my mind. I think the biggest takeaway from what you said is the best place to kind of fight these things is with adjudication, kind of with litigation in the courtroom. I just kind of think what we've seen is a lot of people kind of engaging in arguments or combative situations with law enforcement and with other people. And like you said, it's you can't, a legal battle is not really won or lost on the side of the road or in a bar or outside at a protest with somebody being confrontational to you. So the biggest thing that I kind of took away from that is just, picking your battle, and also knowing that, we live in a system where we kind of have to take those things through the proper channels of litigation and adjudication or wherever it may be. So yeah, man, that was heavy. All good jewelry, all good jewels.
Well, let me read this before we move on. I want to read this. So this is on the back of my business card. I got this from one of my mentors, Michael Oakes in Michigan. And it basically is a response to police questioning. And it reads, I do not give permission to search my automobile. I understand my constitutional rights to remain silent and to have an attorney present during questioning. I do not give up those rights. Please stop questioning me until my lawyer is present. That's pretty direct, because that's letting them know that you are not giving them the right to do. There's no misunderstanding. I'm not giving you right to search my house or my car. You can use it for the house as well. And then you let him know I understand my constitutional rights to remain silent, which means you do not have to say anything. And then also let him know that you are requesting an attorney. And in the world of the law, it's very important to unequivocally say that you want an attorney, because if you don't say you want an attorney, they don't have to tell you that you're a suspect, or you have the Miranda rights, but you need to let them know, beat them to it. And so I was told to post this up so you could do a screenshot. So before I get yelled at, so okay, if y'all can see it.
Hold on, bring it a little closer. Okay, right there.
Right there. Okay.
Kind of focus, yeah.
Okay, y'all can screenshot that.
Wait, cool. What should you do your camera? Okay, you back.
Okay, yeah, phone about to die. My bad, y'all.
You don't have your phone charge. You don't have the charger plugged in.
Hey, brother, say. Listen.
See how we do.
Listen. Mind your business. Mind your business. That's all.
Listen, but I think another jewel that you just gave us that I really want people to let this morsel of flavor savor in their mouth for a second. The right to remain silent. Oh my, that's one of my favorite rights. Not only do I like to enjoy the right to remain silent, I take particular pleasure when other people remain silent as well. I mean, that's probably the cornerstone of
The
not
corners.
getting yourself in a jam. The art of just simply shutting your mouth is we don't give it the flowers that it deserves as a principle.
And we don't. And let me tell you this too. What people don't realize is that if you are legit, not a career criminal, when the stakes are high and your adrenaline is pumping, you will tend to try to explain yourself in a sticky situation. And that is what you definitely should not do.
Right.
My mentor calls himself the mouthpiece because you shouldn't be talking. You should be being silent. Your attorney is your mouthpiece. And so I borrowed that and I coined myself as your sword shielding mouthpiece, in case you need a sword, somebody to fight for you, a shield to protect you, or you need a mouthpiece to talk for you. But people will tell on themselves, thinking that they're getting themselves out of trouble. They need to shut up. And that's the problem. They need to just shut up.
No, it's the psychology of it is very deep. You know, I work in the sales and sales field. I have a lot of sales training. And like they'll say you like, even in sale, like people psychologically are always trying to sell something. And not just like with work. It's just like the human interaction. Like people are just naturally trying to either convince somebody of something. So there's been studies done that like when people are talking, like if you and I were talking in a room and I ask you a question, and a lot of people do this at job interviews too, it's an interview technique. If I ask you, you know, Mr. Miller, what's your biggest strength? And you will go into, oh, you know, I organize very well. And I just sit and don't say anything. Studies show 98% of the time, the respondent will start back talking again and completely either change their answer or say something completely erroneous to what was going on. Because the human psychology tells people, like, silence makes them uncomfortable. It's like, oh, I need to start back saying something. It's like, no, you could just let them go.
Just like know this, and so they use it to their advantage. Like that's why they say, "Is it okay if I?" Because they'll say, "Did you know you were speeding?" Most people say, "No." And then they be like, "Well, I smell marijuana," or "You have bloodshot red eyes. You been drinking?" "Oh man, I had a beer or two." "I smell marijuana." "Oh, I smoked at the house." "Was it okay if I searched the car?" Because I mean, you said you smoked at the house, right? So clearly there's nothing on you. And then you got like a joint, or is it called a roach? Do people still say roaches? A roach
I don't
joint.
know if the kids still say roach or not, but I'm familiar.
Okay. You have a very small amount of something in your ashtray in your vehicle, and now you're going to jail. Why? You consented to a search with no warrant, to a warrantless search. You consented. He asked you, you say yes. Say no. And whenever you feel nervous and you don't know what to say, I want you to pull out that screenshot card and read that and let them know no.
Right. Okay.
Cool. And so I just
box
it says, why do cops ask if you know why they pulled you over? Because they're trying to get probable cause to give you another ticket. Because I don't know the data, but most traffic violations turn into other charges. Because if they really just wanted to pull you over to give you a ticket, they would just pull you over and come to the car with the ticket in hand. Like, hey, you was speeding, you was 5 miles over speed, here go your ticket. But that's not what they want.
Yeah, why does it matter? Why does it matter if I know?
Because you will be admitting everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. And or give a police officer probable cause to search your car. Do you know I pulled you over? No. Well, let me tell you. Or they might say, yeah. So now you know that you were speeding. Yeah, I was speeding, officer. I'm rushing trying to get to my baby mama's house. Oh, okay. Where your baby mama stay? You nervous because you was lying anyway. You don't got no kids. See what I'm saying? Like it's like just don't say nothing. No, I don't know why you stopped me. Okay, get the ticket. But officers, they want to trump up charges too. I mean, you gotta understand, their job is to put people in jails, the prison and pipeline. blah, blah, blah. I mean, we can get into it if we want. I mean, not on this show. We can get into it. But if they really wanted to only give you a ticket for a traffic violation, the ticket could be written in their car. They come to the window. All they need is your name, your date of birth. But no, they want to ask you questions. They're going to search your name, see if you got a warrant. They want to smell in your car. They want other stuff. Like profiling you. You got a nice car on some big rims. You got a fancy car. You ain't supposed to be in it. You know, you can't be driving a car like this, certainly. You can't afford to drive this clean. But that's another topic for another day.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Don't say nothing. Call your attorney. That's what you need to do. Get home safe. For sure.
Get home safely. Absolutely. Well, that was a wealth of knowledge from my friend, Attorney Miller.
No, Al,
are you primed for your Monday Minute? You ready?
Yeah. So I got two. So I need to.
Okay.
ask
Well,
you.
hold on.
No.
I want to answer those questions first before you get into it.
All right. Answer the question.
Okay. So, firstly, you asked, how can the stock market be doing good if unemployment is high? Something that I didn't touch on when I kind of did like a little market recap. Let me pull my well, firstly, just kind of know that the market and the economy are two different things. So that's what's first to understand. And they can work in parallel with one another, and they also don't have to. In most cases, if the market is doing well, the economy should be doing well. But there can be times where the inverse is true. There can be times where the market is doing really good and the economy could be bad, because the economy gets into things like, unemployment, things like that. But that doesn't mean that other areas that contribute to the actual stock market aren't doing well. And then the inverse, employment can be good and the economy can be good, just depending on all the factors that go into that, like, GDP, gross domestic product, things like that, government restrictions, Fed rates and things like that contribute to the economy. And those things can have effect on the market, but there are other factors that turn into the market. But it's important for people to know that the market and the economy don't necessarily coincide with each other. Oftentimes they do, but there are cases where they don't necessarily work with, where they may not necessarily be trending together. They're two separate entities. And secondly, the question in regards to what is an equity? An equity is another word for stock. An equity is literally just the equity or the shareholder's equity in a company after all liabilities have been paid. So when people say, oh, I've got stock in so-and-so company, they're really saying I have equity. So kind of like layman's terms, people say stock, but investors' terms, most of us say equities because they just really don't use the word stock as much. But stock and equity are generally interchangeable. It's the same thing. Instead of saying I have stock in Apple company, I have equity in Apple company, it means the same thing, an amount of shares or equities of shareholders' value. So yeah, that's it on that. And before you get into your Monday Minute, I know we broke it up. We try to do this thing over our Monday Minute, ladies and gentlemen, where we just kind of spend some time either addressing an issue or maybe having a rant, or just kind of giving some good advice that we feel like can help, continue and cap off your great week. So last week I got into usefulness versus uselessness and some other things, and I kind of wanted to rant this week about
it's not your
crab
turn
legs.
now. You can't rant this week. No. You
No.
can't rant.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. But at some point in the future, we're just, as a culture, we're going to have to come to terms with the amount of crab legs that we eat now.
Yeah, what?
there's something. Crab legs have taken over, I think, the food pyramid, and there's something about seafood boils that are taking us over as a culture, and I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about the amount of crab legs that we're eating. And I love crab legs. I'll probably have them maybe twice a month or so. But it's not my week to rant. But at some point, we are going to address this because I just want to understand. I just want to understand the newfound obsession that we have with crab legs as a people. But that's fine. We can save that for another time. We're gonna get into you. You almost ready over there? You got to plug your phone up.
I had to change.
People,
I lost my fancy light. My village is gonna be upset with me.
And most times, you know, we go through pre-production, and I'll plug my phone up on the charger before we get started. Just I like to have that flow and continuity. But Lee is aggressive. He likes risk. He likes to take risks. So, you know, he might let his battery get down to 2 or 3%, and, you know, and then we'll scramble and get it plugged in. But, you know, that's what creates the feng shui of In the Mix Monday. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up here, we're going to get into our Monday Minute with attorney Lee Miller. I'm going to turn it over to you. Well, maybe not. I'm going to turn it over to him yet because he is still trying to plug his phone charger in, and I have no idea how this is.
Okay, we get in there. We in there. We ready.
Okay.
Ready,
all right. Okay. Well, we'll take it away. Let's get into it.
All right. So before we get into it, I got to ask you a question. So, can I talk about my George Floyd platform? Is it cool for the show or no?
Can you talk about your George Floyd platform?
Mm-hmm.
What platform? This is news to me.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna talk about how we can deal with it and get some actual results.
Okay.
Well, at any time, if the train jump off the track and you got an issue, just do this, and I'll be like, okay.
Well, I luckily I can just pause the recording. You know, if we start heading to the point of no return, I can just pause the recording over here. We put an edit point in.
Okay. So, my rant first. It's a very short rant. My rant this week deals with how nobody has held a press conference or came out publicly and called the police officers despicable, disgraceful, or flat out wrong in what took place in the George Floyd murder. But they've held press conferences, had celebrities, elected officials come out and ridicule the protesters. And I think that is downright wrong, because how are you so quick to tell a person what they shouldn't be doing to express their frustration when you yourself have not joined in the fight to understand that frustration, and you just tell them to go home? Go home? Get out of here. No, we are all dealing with certain things, and we're trying to find our voice to be involved and be focused. But we can't do that because we're so frustrated. And so I just hated how people are just doing that. I also have an issue with people saying all lives matter. Now, I said I wasn't going to get into this, but I must. If a person says all lives matter, they're not invited to the cookout, okay? A line has to be drawn. So Drew Brees, you're not invited to the cookout, okay? We got to start making a list and expanding it. You know why? Because there's no gatekeepers in the Black community to actually say who is and who is not invited to the cookout and why. I am in full support of an anti or an uninvited list to the cookout, because there is no rubric on how people get invites to the cookout. Does that make sense? So we need to start setting standards. I don't know who's gonna create the standard, Brother Al. You can step up. and set a standard. But we cannot continue. And I'm a Saints fan. But Drew Brees can't come to the cookout.
I was gonna say that you a Louisiana guy. You're a Saints guy.
Listen. I'm a Cowboys fan, but Jerry Jones can't come to the cookout either. But you know he don't care, and that's fine. But Drew Brees for sure can't come. And that's my rant. And lastly, my last rant is that Black people, stop discussing our public business, our private business in public spaces. If you got an issue with somebody Black, you need to let them know off the record, not in a public forum. Because although some police officers may not agree with what the police officers did, not one police officer has held a press conference and said something was wrong with the police. Now, they might have said it on their Facebook Live or did something like that, but not a press conference. So we need to keep in-house business in-house. Stop making everything so public and ridiculing each other. That's my rant. All right.
Absolutely, man. Well, you know, I think that was a lot of good information talked in there. A lot of homework for people to kind of go do to get information about the things going on around them, and like you said, properly pre-planning to prevent poor performance. Is that the 7 Ps?
Poor performance. Yeah, them 12 Ps. What you know about the 12 Ps? Y'all studied that.
Listen, man, I'm a jack of all trades, you know.
Oh, okay.
And I'm good at one or two. So yeah, man. Well, yeah, we definitely appreciate that Monday Minute, and appreciate you guys coming and check out your favorite virtual happy hour with Lee and Al here in the Mix Mondays. Be sure if you have any questions, comments, concerns, send us a note to our Gmail at inthemixmondays@gmail.com, or you can message us on Facebook at our page is In the Mix, or also on Instagram. Our page is In the Mix Mondays. So with that being said, hope everybody found the time valuable today. I'm looking forward to being with you all again. And as we leave, we always cheers to more prosperity, brother. And any last words from you?
No, but I want everybody to be safe this week, man. Call and check on your people. I did see a few posts like, you know, if your white friends didn't call and check on you tonight, they not invited to the cookout. And that's not fair. I think we all need to check on one another. And, you know, we all need to check on each other because mental health is real. And so everybody needs to check on their family and friends and make sure everybody is cool because we're dealing with a lot right now. We're dealing with the COVID situation, police brutality, and then the stuff that we were dealing with just on a normal day-to-day regular basis. So just make sure you check on your family and friends, and in some cases, your associates.
Absolutely. Now, I 100% totally agree with that. And like we said, it's been another edition of In the Mix Mondays. Wish you guys another good week out there. Hope everything's great. Stay safe, stay well, stay prosperous, and always stay in the mix. We'll catch you guys next time.